Hey there, fantasy football players. Welcome to the 2010 NFL.com Fantasy Draft Kit. I'm Lindsay Soto alongside NFL.com fantasy editors Michael Fabiano and Adam Rank. In this edition of the Draft Kit, we're going to break down the busts. These are 3 players from each fantasy editor that you should avoid or avoid drafting too high. Who do you think's on this list, Adam?
Well, I'm going to start off with Steven Jackson from St. Louis. I don't have a lot of rules when I'm doing drafts, but the number one rule I have is if the guy had back surgery in the offseason, I'm going to avoid him. I mean, he's getting more...
As a general rule of thumb.
As a general rule, it just seems like a good rule of thumb, you know. And this guy, he had 300 carries last year. The second time in his career, he's topped 300 carries. He did it in 2006. And then the following season, he missed 4 games. So I'm worried about him wearing down. And you know what else I'm worried about, Lindsay? Back surgery.
Again, because as a general rule of thumb,
it seems big.
It was minor, according to him.
The next guy, I'm going to go with another running back, Brandon Jacobs. Now, this guy is a great YouTube guy. You know, you see great shots of him running guys over. It would have been good to have one there. But, you know, you see him, he does a lot of stuff, and he's excited. You draft him, you think he's going to be good. But in all honesty, he's had one fantasy-relevant season. That was in 2008. This year, last year, the Giants started throwing the ball more. I think Ahmad Bradshaw ends up being a better option there.
Running people over,
there it is. And I think what you want to do with him, wait. If he gets down to even like the 8th or the 9th round, yeah, go ahead and take a shot. 5th round, 6th round, where he's been projected, pass on him. And the final guy I'm going to take, let's do another running back, is LaShawn McCoy. Now, I know a lot of people are thinking that this guy's going to be Brian Westbrook light just because he's in the Eagles offense. But last year, he didn't really live up to the expectations that I had. I had him on my team. I was disappointed in him. And I think, you know, with Mike Bell there, he's going to take a lot of the goal line opportunities, take away a lot of touchdowns. And the Eagles just absolutely abandoned the run last year. They ranked 28th in rushing attempts, and they're just passing now. So he's a guy that if you're in a PPR league, maybe, but otherwise I'd wait till about the 4th, 5th round. There's some other value out there.
Okay, so I know with Steven Jackson that the number one thing that you dislike about him is that he had back surgery.
He did.
But the fact that he has a rookie quarterback in the backfield with him, does that have any effect on his value at all?
I think it could hurt because teams are going to be able to stack the box against him. They're going to want Sam Bradford to make them pay for it. And the problem I have is they just ran him too much. They have no other options on that offense. I know that they've been checking around. Brian Westbrook's been a possibility there. They have to do something. They cannot give him the ball 300 times. And I think if he's there, I know he's tempting to pick in the first round because he's one of those few feature backs that are still available. But still, it's a bad offense. I would just avoid it altogether. Let somebody else deal with it.
He had a good fantasy year last year, Steven Jackson, but of course he had back surgery.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So anyone that falls into that category for you? Not the back surgery category, but the avoid.
Mike doesn't have back surgery. Yeah, I know you're going to be playing fantasy football this year, right, Lindsay?
I'm so excited.
Avoid Jerome Harrison at all costs. Now, listen, Jerome Harrison was a fantasy superstar at the end of last year, put up big numbers in his final 3 games, but he played against the Raiders, the Chiefs, not very good run defenses. He also averaged 35 carries a game in those contests. That's not going to happen now. And the Browns didn't show a lot of faith in him in the offseason. They traded for Peyton Hillis in the Brady Quinn deal. They also drafted Montario Hardesty, who I think is a sleeper. And the Browns really have a tough schedule in terms of facing good run defenses. So I'm avoiding Jerome Harrison. Maybe you take him in the 6th or 7th round, but I just don't like him. I think he's going to be a bust. Also, Santonio Holmes, as a rule of thumb, guys don't want to have back surgery. I don't want my guys missing 4 games to start the season, all right? He's already been suspended. He's going to miss a third of the fantasy season. He's going from an offense that threw the ball quite a bit last season to an offense that's going to run the ball more, and he's downgrading at quarterback from Ben Roethlisberger to Mark Sanchez, a nice quarterback, I know, but he's not Ben Roethlisberger. So I'm going to avoid Santonio Holmes. As a matter of fact, any wide receiver wearing a Jets jersey, I want nothing to do with in 2010. No doubt about it. Finally, Greg Olsen. And here we'll talk about how a guy's fantasy value can change so much from one season to the next. Last year we were around here talking about how he was a breakout candidate. Put up his best numbers ever. He was inconsistent. But now Mike Martz is in the mix. And Mike Martz is basically a statistical death sentence for tight ends. No tight end has ever had 40 catches or more in a Mike Martz offense. I mean, he basically neutered Vernon Davis a few years ago when he was with the San Francisco 49ers. And Davis was the top tight end in fantasy football last season. So Greg Olsen is someone you want to avoid.
Santonio Holmes was the number one guy in Pittsburgh. Really a bust? Bust?
Absolutely. Listen, there are so many wide receivers to go. We mentioned Jericho Cotchery, Braylon Edwards, Dustin Keller's in the mix. They're going to run the ball. There's not enough targets to go around. I think Santonio Holmes maybe has 800 yards, maybe 4 or 5 touchdowns. I don't like him. I'm avoiding him just same as Braylon Edwards and Jericho Cotchery. Don't like the Jets receivers this year.
All right. That's going to do it for our bust candidates for our fantasy draft kit. If you are craving even more draft advice this early in the season, you can check out the full fantasy draft kit online. Also, pick up a copy of the NFL.com Fantasy Football Preview magazine that is available on newsstands and on NFL Shop right now.